So we're very excited to be with you today. BJ and I became dementia champions a couple months ago, and what that helps us do in our community is to work with community members, businesses to become dementia friends. So once you go through this session, and it's basically the session that we say is very strict. Basically we're not going to go off of what they taught us. And what that will help you is to recognize and know some key messages and how to approach and work with people with dementia.
And we do have folders for everybody also that has information in it for you.
So what is Dementia Friends? It's a social action movement developed by the Alzheimer Society in the United Kingdom. The Dementia Friends program focuses on 5 key messages, and that's what you will be learning about today. And then to become a dementia friend, you need to understand those 5 key messages and then commit to a dementia-friendly action. So that is really all of our goal here today, is to commit to becoming a dementia friend. So we're going to do a quick activity. So what are the first words you think of when you hear the word dementia?
Loss of memory.
So Marcia said loss of memory. Anybody else have any ideas? Alzheimer's. I'm kind of repeating just so they can hear it. Anybody else?
A gradual loss of function in all areas.
Gradual loss of function in all areas. And there's many, many more things that you can think of, you know, confusion, agitation, all of those can be part of that. So perceptions of dementia, you may find that your words are mostly negative, but don't worry. So people with, people's perception of dementia can be that they're a burden, it's devastating, it's an epidemic, they feel lost, confused, it's a huge loss. Some people will feel hopeless, childlike, wanderer. If you're familiar with anybody with dementia, some of these words might have come out of the person's mouth, or as a caregiver, you might feel some of these as well. It's unfortunately how society often views and talks about dementia. And BJ and I kind of talk about this all the time. And that's the other thing, is that we need to be more open and talk more about dementia and not be so afraid to talk about it. So hopefully with this program, that will bring the more awareness in Alpena community and county, and help everybody understand it better. So now we are actually going to do a little YouTube video. Hopefully we can hear it.
If you saw someone living with dementia, would you recognize the signs? Would you be uncomfortable? Would you avoid them? Would you be frustrated? Would you do nothing? Or would you be a friend? Would you engage them and empower them to get through their day? Would you welcome the opportunity to help them feel like a part of your community? Would you take even the smallest step to make their world less frightening or confusing? Every single one of us has a unique part to play in the lives of people living with dementia in our community. Become a dementia friend today and build communities where all people can live, age, and thrive.
Hey, Mr. Fredrickson, it's Tuesday. Aren't you going to the store?
Yeah.
Come on, I'll walk with you.
Find out more at dementiafriendsusa.org.
A bunch of times. He just questioned the gentleman saying, don't you usually go to the grocery store by now? And he said, oh yeah, I guess I do. And he said, well, let me walk with you.
Try to get there.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so dementia. What should you know about dementia? You should know that it's not a specific disease, and it's an overall umbrella term describing a wide range of symptoms associated with a decline in memory, language, and other thinking skills severe enough to reduce a person's ability to perform everyday activities, to perform daily tasks like dressing, like brushing their teeth, like eating, all of those things. So what you should know about dementia is Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia and accounts for 60 to 80% of cases. Other dementias include dementia with Lewy bodies, and that one is related to if you have Parkinson's, you usually would have dementia with Lewy bodies. Frontotemporal, which happens right in the front, and then vascular, and a lot of times with vascular, that's because of strokes or mini strokes, stuff like that. So the less common ones are the dementia with Lewy bodies, frontal temporal vascular. The most common, as we said, is the Alzheimer's. Want me to keep going? Okay. COVID-19 impact on dementia. Of course, I feel like we can't go any place without talking about COVID-19, but new guidelines and requirements for all. Processing and remembering new rules, new ways of planning for basic activities, disruption of normal daily routines, social isolation, PPE interferes with communication, which we realize that if people can't, especially with dementia, if they can't see what you're saying or hear what you're saying, that could have some more signs and symptoms of dementia. Reversal of lifelong habits and overwhelming amount of news coverage. So these are all things that can impact a person with dementia. So family caregivers and dementias is the other silent epidemic. So 80% of people with dementia reside in their homes or with family members. 1 in 6 millennials are caring for someone with dementia and report mental, physical, and financial hardships as a consequence of their giving role. And then spousal caregivers of individuals with dementia age 66 to 96 have a 63% increase in mortality rates than non-caregivers of those with dementia in the same age range, oftentimes resulting in the passing of the caregiver before the person in which they are providing care for. I say that all the time, just because when we're a caregiver, we forget about our own needs because we have to take care of this person. And especially with dementia, the caregiver is now taking on double roles. So if you're the wife, you're becoming the husband and the wife. If you're even a child, you're becoming the mom or the father, so your roles are becoming multiple, and then yet you're not doing anything for your own care. So it is very, very important to take care of yourself. I already did that one. And here's another video.
Hi, I'd like to explain dementia to you in the way that it was explained to me. I'd like to picture that I'm an 80-year-old woman standing here, and that beside me there is a bookcase that's as tall as I am and is filled with books. Now, each of those books represents a fact or a date or a number or a memory that I've gained in the last 80 years of my life. So right at the top, my most recent memory, so what I had for breakfast, getting dressed this morning. The next shelf down might be things that are a little bit less recent, so maybe my last holiday, what I did at Christmas, maybe the last time you came to visit me. The next shelf down by my shoulders will be my 70s, my 60s, my 50s, my 20s will be down by my knees, and my childhood memories will be all the way down by my feet. So that is the bookcase that makes up me. Now, when I get hit by dementia, what's going to happen is that my bookcase is going to start to rock, and I'm going to start losing those books, starting from the ones on the top, which may explain why my short-term memory is likely to be affected first. So, as my dementia progresses, I might find myself having lost not only the top shelf, but the next one down and the next. I might find myself living in the 1950s. Now, embrace my reality. I go into my kitchen today to make myself a cup of tea. What do you think? Given that I'm expecting a 1950s kitchen, what's a likely accident that I might have? If you've thought putting an electric kettle on a hob, that's absolutely right. Now, as my carer, as my relative, you might be tempted to say, we shouldn't let her make tea anymore, that's really dangerous. But there is a simpler solution, which might be to just change my kettle from an electric one to a whistling kettle, because that's what I'm expecting, and I know how to use that. And I learned how to use a whistling kettle all the way down in my childhood, so that memory is likely to stay with me a lot longer. That's not going to help everybody with dementia, but it might help me at this particular stage. Now, I talked about this one bookcase that's got all these facts and memories and numbers, and that's quite a flimsy bookcase, and when that gets hit by dementia, it rocks a lot. Now, this bookcase is representing a part of my brain called the hippocampus, which is more susceptible to dementia. However, my feelings and my emotions, the things that make me who I am and the reasons why you love me, they're all managed separately by a different part of the brain called the amygdala. And that's all here in a separate bookcase. It's a really strong oak bookcase. And when that gets hit by dementia, it's not going to move very much. Let me explain to you how the two bookcases work together. So when I was a child, I had a teacher. He's on the hippocampus bookcase. He was incredibly inspiring. And the way that he made me feel, inspired, in awe, that is stored in a separate book on my amygdala bookcase. So the teacher is on the hippocampus, but the way I felt, that's going to be managed by the amygdala. Now let's bring it back to today, where I'm the 80-year-old woman. I have dementia. You come to visit me. So that's a fact, that happens here. And we have a blazing row. I'm probably going to feel upset, sad, angry, and that's going to go onto the amygdala in a book here. You might go away thinking, it doesn't really matter. She'll forget that I even came to visit, let alone that we had a row. And you know what? You're probably right. That book will probably go. But what's likely to stay with me are those feelings, those emotions, that anger, and with nothing to relate it to, it might be really confusing for me. But let me leave you with a positive example. Say you come to visit me, and you take me out to the seaside, and we have a great time. So here it is, the seaside, the waves, the great time, the feelings of safety and happiness and love that I feel are held over here in the amygdala. As soon as we get back to my house, I've forgotten where we've been. That book is gone. And you might think, oh, it's just not worth it. Why do I bother? I don't think I'm going to carry on visiting her. But look over here. Those feelings, that safety, that warmth, that's going to stay with me for a lot longer. So I would like to encourage you to continue to visit and to care for the people that you know, relatives, friends who have dementia, and to remember that there is more to the person than the dementia. Thank you.
So very true. I think that, oh no, I'm echoing.
I thought you were going to say
So
something.
that is, I mean, it's just very true that I think sometimes as family members, caregivers, we don't think that visiting every day matters because they don't remember anyways. But as she said, it's the feelings that they still feel. I always say, even though we don't remember things, even towards the end of life, the last thing that goes is our hearing. So it is beneficial to be there, sit and talk to them, hold their hand. It does matter. The healthy brain versus the Alzheimer's brain. So on the left here is the healthy brain. On the right, obviously, is the advanced Alzheimer's. And what you can see is just how the brain is shrinking. And then with the bigger the openings of the ventricles, the thoughts are slipping right through on the brain. And that's where the confusion, the forgetfulness comes in. So 10 early signs and symptoms of dementia. And a lot of people wonder, do I have dementia or am I getting old? Am I just forgetting? So these will kind of give you some variations of what would be an early sign of dementia or not. Dementia symptoms vary depending on the cause, but there are some common signs and symptoms. So the first early sign of symptom of dementia is memory loss that disrupts daily life, forgetting recently learned information, repeating questions or stories over and over, forgetting the important dates, events, tasks, and routines. Typical aging, so this is kind of if you think, oh no, I do some of these things. Typical aging would be you sometimes forget names or appointments, but you remember them later. So you forgot your hair appointment, but 3 hours later, you're like, oh no. I mean, that doesn't mean you have dementia, that's normal aging. The second early sign of and symptom of dementia is challenges in planning or solving problems, difficulty making a plan, working with numbers, scheduling appointments, following a recipe, not renewing prescriptions or paying bills in a timely manner, needing medical care but not seeking or refusing care. Typical aging would be making occasional errors when balancing a checkbook. And I always say, if you've always been able to do your checkbook and it's fine, and then all of a sudden you're realizing that your loved one is totally missing bills, and that would be a real sign that something's wrong, especially if they've always been able to do that. The third early sign and symptom of dementia, difficulty completing familiar tasks at home, at work, or leisure, difficulty with familiar household chores, trouble finding their way to familiar locations, remembering the rules of a favorite game. Typical aging, needing occasional help to use the settings on a microwave or to record a TV show. The one remembering the rules of a favorite game, my husband's aunt was just diagnosed. She's just 60. And when she came up this summer, they just had to keep telling her over and over how to play this game that they played forever. But they didn't really realize what was happening. Well, then she got diagnosed and she's only 60. So she's, to this point already. Fourth early sign and symptom of dementia is confusion with time or place, arriving very early, late, or missing appointments, outings, events, losing track of dates, seasons, and passage of time, forgetting where they are or how they got there. Again, typical aging would be confused about the day of the week, but recalling it later. So, I mean, how many of us woke up and thought it, was Sunday and it's Monday, and, we all have different routines, but if that's a consistent thing, that could be a sign and symptom of dementia. The fifth early sign of symptoms of dementia is understanding visual images and spatial relationships, challenges judging distances affecting driving, determining color or contrast, bumping into furniture, tripping or falling, and difficulty placing a phone call. So typical aging would be you have change in your vision related to cataracts. So, if you're having difficulty with your vision, obviously we would recommend going to get your eyes checked before you just assume you have the stage of dementia. Sixth early sign and symptom of dementia, new problems with words and speaking or writing. So your difficulty finding the right words, challenges with tracking and participating in conversations. Typical would be sometimes having trouble finding the right word. Sometimes in this stage, you'll notice with people with dementia that they might start to decrease participating in different group things, family things might become, so they might withdraw or go watch TV when they normally wouldn't have done that. But now all this commotion is too hard for them. So they're gonna isolate. Number 7 is misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace. I can't know what that last word is, retrace something. I don't wanna tell you something wrong. Retrace steps. So inability to search for misplaced items, putting items in non-typical places may accuse others of stealing. So how many of us have had that happen? With family members. So typical aging is misplacing things from time to time, but again, you're able to find them. The 8th one is decreased or poor judgment, changes in judgment and decision-making, poor decisions with money, dressing inappropriately for weather, walking away and getting lost. Typical aging is making a bad decision once in a while. This is one of the signs that a lot of our seniors that I know get caught in scams. They'll just start sending money to all the sweepstakes because they think they're going to get money, and then bigger things happen. So number 9 is withdrawal from work or social activities, disengagement with social and community groups or activities, refusing to allow visitors into residence. Sometimes the typical would be sometimes feeling weary of work, family, and social obligations. So, this could be a sign here that if somebody came regularly and participated, but then all of a sudden started not coming, there could be a symptom like they just feel out of place, or maybe there's more going on that we don't know about. And the 10th early sign is changes in mood and personality. So people might have mood swings, increased confusion, being more suspicious, depressed, becomes more upset, fearful, or anxious at home or in unfamiliar places, and they have a shift in personality. A typical aging would be developing very specific ways of doing things and becoming irritable when a routine is disrupted. So now the 5 key messages, and we talked about this at the beginning, as a dementia friend, these are the 5 key messages that are really important to help you with people that have dementia. So dementia is not a natural part of aging. Dementia is caused by diseases of the brain. It is not about losing your memory. It's possible to live well with dementia, and there is more to the person than the dementia. And we heard some of those things in some of the videos as well. Now we're moving on to another video, and we know how to give you sound, people. I'm excited about that. Oh, it's sleeping.
I found myself saying something or trying to say something and then I realized that the word didn't even fit in that I said or something like that. So I just kept, thinking about it, and it didn't happen every day. It didn't happen, hardly at all. And then it just kept getting a little bit worse and a little bit worse.
I think some of the family members thought something was off, I guess. Did any of them think dementia? Probably not.
When you're used to doing things and doing it right and doing it, and and all of a sudden, you can't remember this, and you can't, what is your name, and it's like a dark area. It's just like being in darkness,
And I think everybody that with this disease, people walk away from them. They're afraid they're going to catch it, like measles or mumps. And that bothers me that they do that.
I have to be aware that any moment my brain might not tell me where to go.
My first reaction was that I'm going to beat this disease.
I can't spell anything like I used to be able to just spell, you just write a check. Now I'm not clear what the thing is, how you do it or anything. All that stuff that I thought I was so good at is gone or on the way gone.
Remembering names, I think that's the biggest issue with me.
People sometimes would kind of look at you kind of strange because I'm not saying what they want me to say or talk the way they want me to talk.
When I started putting my shirts on backwards, that was one of my early signs too.
Walking, that's why I have a cane now, and because I have a tendency to rock sideways, and I don't want to trip or fall.
Darkness is not good for me, and I tend to trip or fall, and my coordination isn't as it used to be.
Oh, I don't cook anymore either, because when I cook, and it doesn't matter if someone's in the house or not, I just start cooking and I forget about using, what do you use when you cook? What? Stove. The stove. I forget every time to turn it off. Every time I've cooked, no matter who's there.
Right now, I'm doing really good because I have someone that takes care of me really good,
Be active in the community still. Go to yoga, do things like that. Don't do it so well, but that's okay.
Staying active, even a little bit active, keeps you interested.
And I like to be around people.
When people would struggle, I'd go over and help them. And I found it very uplifting to help other people.
You know, you can't deny this disease. If you deny it, you're going to get in trouble.
The singing is very, very good to the brain. We know that. And the more we can do that, the better off we'll be.
People that have dementia, I think, are very unique. And I think they have a lot to offer still.
It's an attitude here. You have to get up in the morning and say, okay, I got to do this today. Even if it's just one thing.
I can say to a person that it's going to be all right. And I can say to a person that depend on God. Because with God, everything is possible.
I'm not ashamed of it. And nobody should be. I mean, I had cancer. Was I ashamed of having cancer? No. Why would I be? You know? Why should I be ashamed of having dementia?
I've lasted 14 years with this disease. It's not going to go away. I accept that. Only thing I guess with my future is that I'll work as hard as I can to stay alive and function.
Everyday tasks. So everyday tasks may seem simple, but if you think of all the steps involved I feel like I'm echoing. In sequence, it can be a lot to remember. So one of the things is, how many steps do you think it takes to brush your teeth? I don't think we really realize how many steps it really takes to brush our teeth. But we're going to kind of talk through that. So the first step would be locate a bathroom. So which bathroom is more, you know, if you have more than one, which one would you choose? You open the door. You have to then turn on the light. You got to locate your toothbrush. It could be on the counter, it could be in the drawer, cupboard, again, which one? So if you have dementia, you got to think about all those things. Then you turn on the water. Do you turn on the hot or cold or mixture? How do the handles operate? So you have to think about that. Then you have to wet your toothbrush. Then you turn off the water. Then locate your toothpaste. It could be on the counter, in the drawer, in the cupboard. You take the lid off the toothpaste. Then you have to set the lid down. Squeeze the toothpaste on the brush. Which end of the toothbrush would you use? Then you recap that toothpaste. You put the toothbrush in your mouth. If it's an electric one, you have to remember to turn it on. Then you brush your teeth. So you brush your teeth on the uppers first. Then where should I go? How long in each area? Do I sing a song or say the alphabet in my head? Then you turn off the toothbrush or you set it down. You rinse, you turn on the water, use a cup or cup your hands, and then you have to turn off the water. Then you have to spit. Where do I spit? And then floss if you floss. So where is the floss located? How much do I use? Then you can rinse again. And then if you use mouthwash, because if that's your normal routine, you have to do that too. So where is it located? You take off the cap of that. You pour it into a cup. How much do you use? Then you rinse and spit. If you're doing denture care, you have to find those products again. How much of each of those do you use? You clean and store the denture or clean and soak. So, it just depends how you do that. How long does it soak? And finishing up, you put all the products back where you found them. Clean off the sink and the counter, turn off the light, and shut the bathroom door. So really, we don't really think about something so simple as brushing our teeth. We're there. How many steps that really takes, you can keep going. Communication, practical support tips. So the first thing is facial expressions. I don't know why that's up there, but whatever. Eye contact, body language, don't stand too close, and don't cover your mouth. So, some people do this when they're talking. That's not going to help somebody with dementia. If you get too close to some people, that's their space. We have to recognize that. Eye contact is always important in body language. Talking, make sure to speak clearly and calmly, short, simple sentences, slightly a slower pace, and avoid speaking sharply or raising your voice. So especially if that's kind of how you've always done that, you might want to think how you're doing that now. Listening is listen carefully, encouragement, and visual clues or cues. So communication tips for communication with a person with dementia. Treat the person with dignity and respect. We can never lose that. Avoid talking past the person as if he or she isn't there. If there's a dementia person in the conversation, please communicate with them as they are there. Be aware of your feelings. So your tone of voice may communicate your attitude. Use positive, friendly facial expressions. Be patient and supportive. Let the patient know that you are listening and trying to understand. Show that you care about what he or she is saying and be careful not to interrupt. A lot of times with dementia patients, I think we try to answer for them. We try to act like they don't know anything, but really it just sometimes takes their thoughts a little bit longer to come out. Offer comfort and reassurance. If he or she is having problem or trouble communicating, reassure that it's okay and encourage that person to continue. Avoid criticizing or correcting. Don't tell the person what he or she is saying is incorrect. Instead, listen and try to find that meaning in what is being said. And one of the things that she said in the video, about if she was back in 1950 to be in 1950, be in their reality. It doesn't matter if we're in 2022 because they're not. So that will help. Avoid arguing. And I kind of just said that if you don't agree with it, let it be. Arguing usually only makes things worse and often increases agitation for the person with dementia. Offer a guess. If the person uses the wrong word or cannot find a word, try guessing the right word. If you understand what that person means, finding the right word may not be necessary. So again, I always say if it's not hurting you or that person, just stop that. Encourage nonverbal communication. If you don't understand what is being said, ask the person to point or show you. Come from the front, identify yourself, and keep good eye contact. So again, if they're sitting down, make sure to go down at their level. Call the person by their preferred name to get their attention and use short and simple phrases. So avoid changing the topics quickly. Repeat information once if it's necessary. Limit questions. Speak slowly and clearly and in a relaxed and gentle tone, and patiently wait for a response. So when you're conversing with somebody, provide a statement rather than asking a question. So, you can't say, do you know where the bathroom is? Because they probably don't know where the bathroom is. So the bathroom is right here is how you would approach that. Avoid confusing and vague statements about something you want the person to do. So really be direct with what you're trying to tell them to do. Don't give them too many options. Name an object or a place. So here it is, or here's your hat. Again, you got to be really, keep it simple, but exact to the point. Turn negatives into positives. Instead of don't tell them to go, don't do that, don't do this. They're going to get agitated. So you really just kind of want to go with them. Give visual cues. Try using written notes or pictures, sometimes just having a dry erase board, but you have to make sure that the ink is a good color. Avoid quizzing. So don't ever ask them, do they remember when? Because they don't remember, or, Mom, don't you remember I'm your third daughter? No, she doesn't. So it doesn't really matter. So back to the 5 key messages. Dementia is not a natural part of what? Do you remember? Dementia is not a natural part of aging, correct. Dementia is caused by blank of the brain. Changes, isn't it? Yep. Dementia is not just about losing your memory. It is possible to what with dementia? To live well. And there is blank to the person than the dementia. There's more to the person than the dementia. So resources in our community, in your packet, there is a list of resources. We are working on a local resource that we have here in Alpena, because on that list, it talks about an adult day center, which we don't have in Alpena. ALZ.org is a good resource always when you're talking about dementia, Alzheimer's. You can always reach out to the Senior Center. We're here to guide you, help you, listen, whatever we need to do. But we are working on a local resource list for us. But we do have that other one in there as well. Thank you very much. And we are very excited to have you part of our dementia-friendly community. So you're our first group. So we're excited to have all of you here and becoming Dementia Friends and Alpena community. So
Can you touch on Dementia Minds just real briefly?
yes. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, if we need to offer like support, we can't do that in this session because it's a learning session, but feel free to contact myself or BJ and we would be willing to meet with you one-on-one. So just so you know that. The other thing that we are doing, we are partnering with Dementia Minds of Michigan, of Dementia Minds. It's a grant funded program. They actually are doing it downstate and are actually in other states. But we are partnering with Besser Senior Living and ourselves with people who are living with the disease. We will be developing scripts and videos to be able to share as a resource in our community. So people can not only look at it always from the caregiver perspective, but how does a person live a normal life with dementia? Because you can have dementia up to 20 years and you can live a very good life for many, many years with dementia. So we will be doing that coming up. We're still in the training process of that, but very excited to be part of that grant, to bring something like that to Alpena and to be able to have that resource in our community as well. So just wanted to share that. So watch for more information to come on that because we will be doing some press releases and all of that to come, but we're still in the training and learning of that. Yes. I mean, obviously, healthy lifestyle, exercising, eating well is always the key to really any disease or process. If there's also can be underlying situations with dementia. So if some of those things happen in the family, no matter what you do, it might still happen, but it's to be aware of what you're doing and your health and exercise and keeping your brain active with puzzles and all of that is always a good thing. Being social in the community is a good thing, you know. So if you're thinking you have signs or symptoms, that's when you need to really go to the doctor early on.
It may not make the disease go away, but it can slow the process of the disease with healthy nutrition and fitness.
Yeah.
So something like learning foreign language, is that?
I mean, I don't think it's going to hurt.
But it's not going to help.
Probably not if you're going to get dementia. But I mean, it's the process of if you don't do nothing with your brain, you know, you're not using it and keeping it active. But yeah, there's really no clear answer to a diagnosis.
What about the medications?
So again, that would be talking to your doctor. You know, there is no. Oh, sure. She's asking, what about the medication that they prescribe for dementia? And again, that's the goal of any dementia medications is to have somebody be maintained at an independent level longer. It will never cure it. It will never take it away. It's just not going to progress maybe as quickly, but everybody deals differently with medicine. So what might work for you might not work for another person, and so on and so forth. So again, it's just talking with your doctor.
And the timing of when you go to your doctor to get the diagnosis, to get on the medication, because the longer you wait, the less the medicine's going to work for you.
Right. And so, well, they can do a couple different scans of the brain. They can do a mini mental exam or a cognitive exam, but that's not going to give you the diagnosis, but it's going to show that you have some cognitive impairments. Usually like an MRI, a CAT scan, stuff like that will give you the diagnosis. You know, again, there's so many factors that come into dementia, as they were talking about Lewy bodies, vascular, just depends. And I always say to people, if you get a diagnosis, ask what caused it, because you don't just get dementia because you're old. That's a myth. I mean, we don't get dementia because we're aging, because we just heard that. There's a reason we get dementia. So what is causing that? That's a main question to ask.
Tests that you are given, is it able to diagnose dementia, Alzheimer's? I guess what I'm getting at is very seldom does anyone say blah, blah, blah has dementia, blah, blah, blah has Alzheimer's.
So
Hear that more, and it might not.
yeah, I think it's also, if you're getting a diagnosis, you need to go to a specialist. Oh, sorry. It's just wondering, like when you get diagnosed, if you get diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's, you know, how do you get that diagnosis? How does a doctor know? Or how do they explain it to you? So basically, really, you know, a family doctor is going to probably say dementia of Alzheimer's type. I mean, you've heard that many times. If you're really wondering and you really want to know, you really need to go to a neurologist or a specialist that deals with dementia or Alzheimer's. I mean, it's no different than if you go to your family doctor, they tell you you have a heart condition. You probably might go to a cardiologist to find more because they specialize in that. So a lot of, you know, we just heard, actually, I watched a video on with the Dementia Minds program, a family physician in Wisconsin. He now has a diagnosis of dementia with Lewy bodies. He was a physician in a skilled nursing home forever. He said the craziest thing was, is I treated dementia, I diagnosed dementia, but honestly, I shouldn't have, because I didn't have that knowledge. He said what I learned about in becoming a doctor on dementia was very minimal. So now he's, you know, getting treated himself and stuff like that. But I thought that was very interesting. And it was interesting to listen to him try to keep on task when he was being the presenter to us on dementia. But it was very interesting listening to him. So I would say, if you're really wondering, probably go to a specialist that is specifically about.
Contact with that person, have any difference in what you know, if they had, say, not dementia.
No, because I think it's all, you know, it's all the same approach. You know, if somebody has dementia, it's really, when you're approaching them, you want to think about like how we approach could cause agitation and all those things. So if we're calm and we approach easily, they're probably going to be okay and respond to you, even if they don't know you. But if you come to them quickly and you just start talking, another thing is you shouldn't talk and touch. You know, sometimes we all have a habit of touching. That's not always a good thing. So we have to really look at the big picture. But I would say, just because I worked with Alzheimer's and dementia, it's the same approach. Yes.
I'd just like to also add that seeing a specialist is important to rule out reversible causes of dementia, because there's lists of
Right.
reversible causes.
Yeah.
Especially if it's early.
Yeah, and that's, yeah, there's like, I mean, we could really go off site, and do another whole, yeah, there's just so much information, but really the importance is being friendly, approaching the right way, having those things in mind. If you're seeing any of those 10 warning signs with a family member, a friend, a neighbor, to make sure that you're trying to help them get the help they need and not wait and think it's just because they're getting older. That's so hard.
To Jan's point, there can be a medical problem like a urinary tract infection.
I was gonna bring that up, the
cause such
UTI.
confusion.
Mhm.
And if you know that and get it treated, then
You
things
might.
are better.
Depression can mimic dementia. So,
Vitamin deficiency.
yeah, so there's a whole bunch, and that's why I say if you're noticing any symptoms, or even your friend, family member, that's when to see your doctor and be your own advocate. You know, if you feel like you walk out of there and you didn't get your answers, call them back and say, I think there's more going on. I mean, you know your body, your family knows you, so you have to be your own advocate and push for what you believe. Any other questions?
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
joining us today. We have a lot of new information, and I'm assuming you'll keep bringing us more.
Y-
So
y-
we'll keep you on our list.
Awesome. We love that. I forgot to bring our newsletters, but you guys, these are online. Also, they're available at the senior center. We have tons of different program, education, nutritional stuff, exercise, our meals.
You write your website and contact information right on board there.
We can. So anyways, this is just always good information. So I meant to grab them.
Another question there?
Yes, sir.
Annie?
Got a couple of requests for a copy of the presentation.
We can get that. So did everybody sign in? Okay. Okay, so on that sign-in list, is it just the name? Okay. Comment,
We could do that.
I can drop off newsletters over here and a copy of the program. And we do have a copy of the program and I can drop off copies for you.
He's asking, can they go online and get the digital copy?
Sure, 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 absolutely.
We are on Facebook too.
There's plenty to learn out there when it comes to Alzheimer's, dementia.
I'm a teacher.
And any other chronic conditions that anyone's going through or suffering with. We do have an amazing book club at the senior center. It's all about healthy eating and fitness. We started that book club during COVID and we've already got people from other states participating in the book club. So it's quite amazing. And I teach exercise at the senior center Monday through Friday. So if anybody is looking for exercise, don't ask Don his opinion about the exercise program.
Don loves it.
I must, when people
Right. He still returns.
I would add though and encourage the senior center to continue with the educational aspects of dementia. Our local Alzheimer's Association was kind of faded into oblivion since COVID.
Mhm.
So
So you are the only real action in town right now.
So in May, every Friday in May at 11 o'clock, which would be after my second exercise class, we're offering a program called Train Your Brain. And we have a new speech pathologist that has moved into our community, and she'll be teaching that class at the senior center. So if anybody's interested in that, give me a call and let me know, and I'll put you on the list, and you'll be able to participate in that class. But Don, like you said, we're always doing, Annie and I are always looking for certifications that we can get to get the knowledge out into the community.
Mhm.
Now, the problem in our community is that this is like cancer.
Mhm.
Years ago in Boston.
Annie and I say that all the time.
And there's a lot of people that benefit from the education, both early stages of dementia and their caregivers.
Mhm.
And if you look at where cancer has come from now, as with Friends Together and all of the, we have survivors.
Yep.
And a lot of activities, and it's very difficult to get people to participate in the dementia
6 years ago, Annie and I started looking for opportunities to get involved with Alzheimer's out in our community, but just to find some type of list that would tell us who in the community had that issue and needed assistance was impossible. So that's been our goal ever since then. Hopefully with Dementia Minds coming up in this program, we'll be out in the community more and we'll be able to get that information, because those people may not know that they can come to the senior center to get the resources that they may be looking for. They may walk out of the doctor's office with a diagnosis and nothing else but a diagnosis. They have no idea where to go. They don't know what to do. And that starts a horrible journey for them. So that's been one of our goals to do that. And hopefully, as we work through these couple of programs, that will change and we can start doing some different things to get that out there.
Yeah, we need to know the people that have it or are dealing with it as a caregiver. I mean, I know there's tons of them in the assisted livings and the nursing homes and all that, but a lot of times they also feel like they don't need the support, but that's not true. Just because your person or your loved one is in one of those centers doesn't mean that you are a different person as a caregiver. You're still a caregiver, but in a different role. You're still dealing with the losses of that person in your life. So you still need that support as a caregiver from the beginning to the end. So,
and if you know people that are caregivers out in the community, let them know that we're there, because we have an amazing program called the REACH program that will help them work through some of the things that they're going to go through with their loved one with dementia. So
we are there. So if you have anybody, let us know.
Our very first program we did was called You Were Not Alone. And that's what we want the whole community to know you're not alone.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you, everybody.